Hello!
Hola.
Hello from Aquarius.
Yep, right now we're in sunny San Diego, which is a little bit colder than we're used to because we're used to staying right near the equator. Anyways, it's been a year. Cheers.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Get a drink too because it might get long sessions, so join us.
So I'm hoping that at least one of you will tell us that we're actually broadcasting. There is a bit of a delay, but I'm hoping somebody will say, yes, you're broadcasting. So why don't you go through some of the stats?
Okay, I'll be happy to. Anybody says something that we are broadcasting?
Well, let's just go into the stats.
Okay, so far in the season 1 and season 2, we, with Aquarius, did 2,608 miles, nautical miles, and I think that's a pretty good number. Total sailed hours was 513. That's purely sailing. And total engine hours was 238. So we motored about 40% of the time. And that includes about 70 plus hours when we had to go to Panama, although we didn't have good winds for that. And that includes about 10 hours transiting Panama Canal, which was very exciting.
Not seeing the broadcast.
Uh-oh. Okay. Then we have to work it out then.
Oh, wait a second. Let me hold on a second. Let me click on this. Michelle Roberts.
Do you see a broadcast? I think you should see. I do.
Yeah.
Please say that you do see the broadcast. We really, really want you to see.
Yeah, well, hold on a second. Let's see if somebody comes back. This is the first time, so...
It is the first time. Please say it.
No, nobody's saying anything. All right, so both Xenon and something is... Oh, did you hit the live button rather than the private button?
Okay.
Oh. Okay,
Hello.
I think we got it this time. Cheers. This is our 1-year anniversary aboard Aquarius.
Hello and cheers. Well, thank you for joining. And I hope you will get your drinks because we might think that it might take an hour or so to answer your questions. So, can you see the streaming? Can somebody type in the comments that you do see the streaming? And we will go with it.
Yeah, we'll start.
Please say
We're
that
hoping
you see.
it's live now. Oh, somebody, Roger. Thank you, Roger.
Yes, thank you, Roger.
Step 1, make things work.
Yeah.
Step 2, answer your questions.
It's our first one, so sorry. By the way, we are in sunny San Diego, which is evening right now, not so much sun. We came here to pick up some stuff to get ready for Pacific crossing and, of course, see our friends and family and prepare for a big crossing that is coming very, very soon. And if you don't mind...
Well, wait a second. I want to make sure that it's working for everybody.
Okay.
Please tell me it works.
Please tell Ken that it works.
only if it is working.
Stream Health, it says it's good. So fingers crossed.
Well, maybe they'll get back to us in a second here.
And it says Stream is healthy.
Whatever that means.
Okay, I saw Roger said, I can see you.
Did he say that? No, he said still waiting.
Oh, here.
Roger, yes, sir.
He says, I see you. And he says this is a different video. Maybe they need to refresh.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody should refresh. And I have to as well.
Okay, Roger, I can see that. I need to look on your page and thank you. So everybody is refreshing.
All
You
right.
should have stayed there.
No, I have to refresh as well.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So I have to get back over to the videos.
Man, it's difficult. It's more difficult than creating videos.
Let's see. Okay. So, well,
How are we doing now? Can you see? Anybody else can comment besides Roger and say, yes, we see you. And yes, we will join you for a 1-year anniversary. Okay.
okay. So I guess everybody can see now. So let's start going through the questions.
I can share the data again.
Yeah, share the data and then we'll move forward.
Okay, 3 numbers of stats is total miles sailed in season 1 and 2, 2,608 nautical miles. Woohoo! Total hours sailing, purely sailing, 513. And total engine hours, 238.
There's a couple things I want to say about the 238. We had a deadline to pick up Javilla's mother, and so we had to get down to Panama on a certain day. Whenever you set a date with a sailboat, it's like setting a date in a private airplane. You know, sometimes you can make it and sometimes you can't. But this time we had to make it, but we didn't have a weather window to make it, and we had to motor. That was 70 hours, and that really hurt. But the only thing I can take out of the 70 hours of motoring is I found it exactly how much we burned per hour because we did it for 70 hours, and we burned 3.68 liters per hour. So that's the only thing good that came out of that.
Yeah, and it turned out to be not as bad as we were thinking before. So this number is good to know, especially when you're getting ready for Pacific crossing, where it might be a lot of days without any wind, which hopefully won't be.
75 or 70 hours, whatever it was, it really hurt. I really did not want to motor that long.
It was very, very grumpy.
Yeah, I was very grumpy. So now we can go through a couple of the questions that, why don't you read off some of the questions and we'll answer them.
Yes, please. And you please put your questions so we can read them and address them after those. So I didn't put the names who asked the questions, but one of the questions was show us and talk details how we prepare to cross the canal.
Okay, you can do one of two ways on crossing the canal. You can either try to do all the paperwork yourself, which we found Panama to be not so nice with the paperwork and not so nice with small boats. So it was very difficult to actually check in. Actually, not so difficult, but very expensive. And so we decided to go with an agent. I think the agent is the best way. It might cost you $300 to $500, depending on which agent you use. but I would suggest using an agent, and we use the same agent that the
Jim
ARC,
Cornell, yeah.
yeah, the ARC is going to use, and he was excellent. He got us to go on the day we wanted. We're going to do a video that shows you everything, but he got us on the day we wanted to go. He got us together with the boat we wanted to go with. We went with another Amel, and it went swimmingly. And we got a great advisor too, because they put an advisor on every boat, every small boat that goes through, either a captain or an advisor. So we got a great advisor, and we had this. It doesn't happen that often, but we had the same advisor for both days. Going south through the Panama Canal for small boats, it takes 2 days, and going north through the Panama Canal, it usually takes 1 day. So we had a slight glitch, and we lost Javila for a minute. So
it does not glitch. Back. It does live on land when you have a landline and somebody starts calling.
So
it's not our house.
So one of the we're still on one question.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
The Panama Canal. So we paid about $2,500 for a 53-foot boat for everything through the Panama Canal. That includes renting the lines, renting the fenders, and
additional
all the other costs,
additional bank charges.
Yeah, and then you have to get a Zarpa to leave one area to get to the other. So they take care of all of the paperwork. And I'll tell you, it would take you 3 or 4 days to get through the paperwork. You'll never know if you got it done properly. And then you'll have the problem of scheduling the day you want, especially in high season. It's coming up to high season right now. We actually transited the Panama Canal on the 31st. So we finished on the 31st. We started on the 30th. We finished on the 31st. So it's not high season yet, but now it's coming up high season, and it's going to be pretty hard to get a date. So if you try to do it yourself without an advocate, you're probably not going to get the date you want. They'll keep pushing you. So I would suggest just finding one of the agents.
And
Next
a good
question.
one, because we saw some people waiting because the agents were missing in action and they missed their transit date.
Yeah, one guy, he didn't even know what happened because he couldn't even get a hold of his agent for 5 days, and his date came and gone, and the guy was just, he wouldn't even answer the phone calls.
Yeah, but later on we saw him on the Pacific side, so it worked out somehow.
He made it, but 5-6 days late.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next question?
We still can address transit questions more specifics like how prepare, what, or some other ones, but this one was like general overview. Same person asked, like, what are the general kind of expenses and filters for motor and for water maker? What are the general expenses?
General expenses. Well, your water maker shouldn't give you too many expenses. You have to change your 5-micron filter, which should cost you about $4 to $5 each. But, some places will charge you $25 a piece for the same 5-micron filter. And you have to change those 5-micron filters once a month or more, depending on how often you use it. But...
And yes, we will be able to post the agent's info, and we will be happy to do that in comments later on. Maybe we talked with the agent. We told him that we have YouTube channel. He was very helpful. And when we will prepare the Panama Canal crossing video, it depends on once the Piracy feels when it's ready. We will post it with many, many details. And yes, we will be happy to share. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
Oh, no problem. There was a problem with my, this isn't working.
Yeah,
Anyways.
We see that some of the things are not streaming, or one of the computers is not streaming. And again, we are such a newbies. We might probably doing something wrong, but we're getting a lot of questions. And yes, Mike El Hawaii, it's our pleasure to provide this information for you. And I hope I'm not butchering anybody's first or last names. So hopefully it's all good. And are you ready to go into the next question? Oh, cost. We start talking about the cost and
Yeah,
filters.
that's most people's questions is about cost. And when you buy a boat, there's going to be so many things wrong with the boat, and there's going to be a lot of costs involved. And so let's go through the costs involved. First, you buy a boat. Our boat was 17 years old. The insurance company automatically tells you replace the standing rigging. The standing rigging was 17 years old. It looked okay. I did find a couple strands that were broken, and that tells you you need to change it. And the previous owner said, no, don't change it, don't change it, but it needed to be changed. So the standing rigging, we paid $11,000 to replace all the standing rigging on the whole vessel. We replaced the sails that cost about $11,000. Then we had to replace the blooner because the blooner blew out on our way to Bonaire, and that was about $1,600. So we spent a total of about $14,000 or $13,000 in sails complete.
And they are what kind of sails?
They are we got pretty high end sails because we were planning on sailing around the world. So we got the highest rated material there was. It's called Hydronet, and supposedly that's going to last all the way throughout and longer. But who knows how long the sails last? Because you make a mistake, you might blow them out.
I hope it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, I hope not too.
We're getting new sails, which are harder to rip, and we're getting more experience, so hopefully less ripping opportunities. So
yeah, the ballooner was 17 years old when we blew it out, and it had been around the world once, and Jim said he used the sail completely the whole way, traveling around the world. And that ballooner was in the sun a lot, and it's thin material, and it was ready to go. So we replaced the ballooner, the mizzen, the main, and the genoa, and we got the identical sails that were on the boat before. We use Q Sail, which used to make sails for one of the biggest companies in the world, and we are very happy with our Q Sails to this point. We went back to Q Sail to get our ballooner made. And the one cool thing that I think I said in my video a little while ago was one of the great things about using Q Sails is they knew all the measurements for the Amels. And all I had to do was tell them that, I had hull number 262, and they sent me sails. And they fit perfect, and we really liked that. And, I was able to, reduce my angle to the wind by just about 7-8 degrees. So I got up into the wind just a little bit more than I did with the older sails.
mm-hmm.
So that's good.
As per expenses, I had prepared the file, which has 3 groups: optional or must/must for us. For example, solar panels was a must for us, but it's not necessarily must for the other boats. And a must, like changing and maintaining your engine and the genset and the water makers. That file is waiting for Mr. Captain's approval, and we will post an Excel spreadsheet with all the prices in local and US currency on our website. So as this video is over, or one of our next videos, we will put a link into the description below where you will be able to click a link, maybe subscribe to our website, which is sailingaquarius.com, and you will be able to see that Excel spreadsheet yourself.
Okay, so that all aside, we probably spent about $50,000 getting Aquarius ready for sailing, and the $50,000 doesn't include another $15,000 in spares that anybody would need if they're planning to cross the Pacific. One of the things about expenses that I don't think most sailors get is when you leave Panama and you're crossing over to the Marquesas, or you're going to the Pitcairns, or you're going anywhere throughout the Pacific, you're going to end up at either Australia or down in New Zealand. The thing that you have to think about is everything for your boat is going to be expensive during that crossing, and not just the crossing to the Marquesas, all the way to New Zealand. So if you don't stock up on everything you're going to need, you're going to be paying a lot of money throughout the sail. So I was talking to several Amel owners, and it's like, oh yeah, I have enough oil on board for 5 or 6 or 7, maybe even 10 oil changes. We have more than enough oil filters for the genset and the engine for 4 to 7. I actually have maybe 10 on board. But you have to have all of that stuff because you're basically on your own out there. And if you don't have it, then you have to make it while you're out there. And that becomes very difficult. So I would suggest you really stock up on spares. And we've probably got about $20,000 worth of spares on the boat right now.
It's beautiful. Anyways.
She doesn't like having all the spares, but
no, I like to be minimalist, and that also helps with this lifestyle, being minimalistic. But having spares, especially going to French Polynesia, which besides being the most beautiful place, it's also the most expensive place. So we have to stock up. Otherwise, it might be very, very expensive. So I saw some of the chats going on, and there was a lot of talking. How do we know the owners? Did we know them previously? How come they sailed with us? And are they German or maybe from my country? So I am from Lithuania. Previous owners are from Luxembourg, also Europe. We did not know them before, but we became really good friends. They will be visiting us again in French Polynesia. And Ken, tell them, how did you find them out and how come they were sailing with us?
Well, actually, the way we bought the boat was very, very interesting, and it's probably different than most. Well, I don't think I've heard of another boat being bought like we bought it. So the previous owner was selling it, he had it listed on Yacht World, but
it was for sale by owner.
Basically, it was for sale by owner. So I called him up and I said, I'd really like to see the boat. So Jim said, he texted me back and he said, I'm going to launch the boat in Grenada, such and such a date. If you show up 3 days before that, you can see it on the hard. We'll launch the boat. You can go sailing with me. And, that's it. So I said, what? I'll see you in Grenada. So I flew down to Grenada and I looked at the boat. The boat looked okay. I mean, there was a couple issues, but, it was fairly it was very well maintained. But, there's problems with every boat. So I said, I like your boat. And he had it listed at 199,000 euros. So I said, Jim, I really like your boat. I like you. Because we had been together for 3 days now. I said, I'll buy your boat and I'll pay the price you asked, but you have to sail with me for 1 month and your wife has to stay on the boat too. And he said, okay, he signed up to that. So,
can I add something on that? They always had the boat for 17 years, and they would always stay in the summertime in Luxembourg, which is beautiful in Europe, the summertime and springtime. and always sail during the winter time, which is not so pretty in Europe and cold and rainy. And I think since we bought it in January, it was perfect timing for them. They stayed, they came over at the end of January. We arrived on a boat January 23rd, exactly a year ago, and they arrived a week later. I think it was maybe January 29th, and they stayed till April 22nd. So April 22nd, it's already getting beautiful in Europe. I think it worked. It was just a perfect win-win situation for us and for them.
Yeah. So, anyways, they sailed with us for 2 months. They stayed for 2 months, not just one. And then we saw them in Europe later. But everything went wonderful. And it's nice having a captain of a boat after he sells it sailing with you, because then there's no problems with it, because he's there and
Yes.
he'll tell you what the problems are. So we had a great time together, and he taught us how to cruise. I knew how to sail because I had raced for 4 or 5 years. Not much experience, by the way, to buy a 53-foot boat, but we we made it, and it was nice having Jimp aboard, because there was no way we would have made it without having Jimp and Lonnie on board. I think we would have been done after a month and a half. It was just too much, checking in and out of countries. We had never done that before. The cruising stuff that you don't think about, what to have on board, what not to have on board. That was actually, or most of it was, we learned from Jimp and Lonnie.
Yes. And Mister, we're getting complaints that we are not replying any of the questions asked here.
Oh,
So
okay.
I will read them. You reply them.
Okay.
So Michael Roberts, hello Michael. He asked if we prefer lager or ale. I think he asked
Ale.
beer. Okay. Zenoon, what route are you planning to take across the Pacific?
We're going to head south out of Panama. We're going to be coming fairly close to the Galapagos. We're not going to stop at Galapagos because it's too expensive. And then get into the trades as quickly as possible, and almost straight over to Marquesas from there.
Wish us luck and good wins.
All right, who's next here?
Again, Zenoon, he agrees with us that 3 to 500 is totally worth taking stress off an already stressful canal passage. And that was absolutely yes.
Oh, Mike from Hawaii, you're buying a new Amel 50.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I'm jealous too. I wish I could buy one.
Okay, so Mike L, go on and congrats. You said that you are buying, and I was, how have you found Amel to be? We love Amel. I wasn't a big fan of Amel's because I wanted a newer boat. We had some conflicts and some fights.
Well, we almost got divorced over it because she wanted to float a Beneteau, and I said, I'm not crossing in a Beneteau. You're sitting there and you've got this blade underneath you with no protection on it, and I said I wanted a skegged rudder, and we got one. And the thing about Amel is, Amel, some people say, oh, this shouldn't be done like this, or this shouldn't be done like this, but when you really think about it, Amel made a lot of the right decisions. One of the things about a Beneteau, when you go in a Beneteau, it's big, nice. Everything is really nice on the inside. If you're sitting in a marina, that's great. If you get hit by a gust of wind and you're blown over 35-40%, then what happens? That big area becomes 15 feet fall, a 15-foot fall, and that can hurt. And a lot of people get hurt that way. But with an Amel, it's a little bit tighter on the inside. You have more storage, and it's 4 crossings.
Mm-hmm.
So,
quick, also, Dan Knights asked, will you do a video on how you went about purchasing your boat? You think you might do a video about that, Ken?
I could do a video about it, but bottom line is we didn't buy the normal way, and nothing about how we bought Aquarius was normal. And we just got really, really lucky.
Well, I think it was due diligence a lot. You are an engineer, so you like to dwell into the details. It wasn't just, talking to the agents, and agents like to put everything in shiny colors and skip the details. So this was possible to avoid and go into the matters, the media
Yeah,
matters.
well, I think that being an engineer, I looked at everything related to the type of boat, but buying a boat, it's luck. We got really lucky. Meeting Jimp and Lonnie, that were the previous owners, they wrote a book about sailing around the world. They were just awesome. Somebody asked what my favorite whiskey is. You know, I don't drink that much hard liquor. We have whiskey on board. We have all kinds of alcohol on board, but really, I don't drink that much except for beer.
Yeah.
Um, Gin and tonics are good though. I like gin and tonics.
Yep, and we already addressed how come the previous owner sailed with us, and yeah, we are so lucky. Um, they are such a great people to do that with all this experience, interesting people. Um, just a pleasure and huge luck. And they released the books, although they are from Luxembourg. They released the book about their journey around the world. They released it in French and German, and I think you still might find some in publications in German for sale. And they beautiful. As we were told, the new Amel boats, when they purchased and don't quote me on that, I don't know all the statistics and all the details, but we were told by previous owner that some of the new Amel owners were getting a bottle of champagne and their book, because that book is catalog quality, beautiful pictures, really good.
Oh, somebody asked here, Zenu, um, what about the Genoa 54? We actually looked at the Genoa 54, but the Genoa 54 was $400,000, and
Because it had like four TVs, like satellite, like game box or whatever it's called.
yeah, but it was $400,000. First of all, we couldn't afford $400,000. And then still, after you pay $400,000, you still have to make a bunch of changes. You still have to get all the spares. You still have to do everything else, and that's another 40 grand. So we would have been broke.
Mike, Hawaii, you said aiškinti santykius, which is how, how to say in English. It's something like how do you clear out the conflicts? Perfect Lithuanian, even with Lithuanian letters. I love it. Impressive.
Yeah, but how do you clear out the conflicts?
Talk it out or fight it out, and the stronger wins, or the smarter wins.
I'll tell you what, it's gotten a lot better slowly.
Yes.
It was pretty tough, the first 3 months because neither one of us knew what to expect. But after that, lately, our relationship has actually gotten better.
Oh.
I think you can say the same.
Yeah, we were driving from Las Vegas to San Diego, so we had like 4 or 5 hours, and we were talking. Okay, if nobody shows up and we don't have any questions, what we're gonna talk about? So we drafted some questions, and will be happy to address those, because those are like usually frequently asked questions by our friends and just in general throughout all the previous videos. And I said, should I talk about the relationships, being on a small space 24/7, like 24/7? And I said, and Ken said, like, well, whatever you feel like. And I said, yeah, I think I love you more. And Ken was like, yeah, I agree. I think I love myself more.
It's just joking.
Just joking? You sure about that?
Gotta have a personality. A little bit of.
Yeah, he does have a personality. A great one.
Okay, Dan asked, did you have a list of boat vendors that you were thinking about purchasing, or a list of boats? It's probably not vendors, but boats. We actually looked at a couple different types of boats. The Tianas.
Mm-hmm.
First, we wanted a Tiana, or I wanted a Tiana. But we looked at several Tianas, and the problem we found with a lot of the Tianas we looked at, it was they didn't maintain them at all. Every single Tiana we looked at was a complete dump. and they were still priced, $350,000 for a 52 or 50. So they were way overpriced for what you get, and they were not well maintained. When we looked at Amel's, I only looked at three Amel's. One of them was the first one I looked at. I thought, well, I don't want to look at another Amel again. It wasn't well maintained. But all the rest of them were very well maintained, and I'm meeting a lot of Amel owners, and they all maintain their boats so well. It makes me jealous when I go on some of these older Amels. It's like a 1996 Amel, and they are amazing what they've done.
And they look newer than ours.
Yeah, they look newer than ours, and you walk in and you go, geez, the chart tables are, everything new. So you can get a very good Amel for much less than you would buy a Beneteau or a Tiana, and you'll get much more boat. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion. So, what was the first thing you two said to each other, and what was the second? The first thing you said to each other about purchasing the boat?
I don't know how to reply that one, even about the purchasing the boat, but I left the purchase decision upon to Ken because he's definitely more technical. I'm more the looks, how it looks like. And but when we start sailing, it wasn't easy, as Ken said in 3-month the 3-month review video. He wanted one of those pills like in Matrix where he didn't want it to continue, and there were days when it's really overwhelming. We never owned a boat before. We hadn't been sailing much.
It's like, put me back in the Matrix, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And plus what happens, to a lot of people, they don't take it, they get a little bit queasy. And during the first 3 weeks, I was just lazy. I'd be sitting there and I'd look just across, and I should get over to that sail and I should pull it in just a little bit, and I'd probably pick up a half a knot. I thought, well, that's just too much work. But it's true. You just go through this time where you're so lethargic, and that lasted about 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, it's like I came up one day and the lights were on. And it's just like, hey, I could go do sit-ups right now. I could do this. I can run over and I can get that sail and I can put that sail up. But the first 3 weeks, I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I'm going to sit right here, drink another hot tea or something. But anyways, it's a learning experience.
Oh, when we first met. Oh, what did we say when we first met? You want to comment on that? So we met in Lithuania. I was doing commercial real estate, and Ken had a residential property back there, and I was asked to help him out because my colleague who was working with residential, she didn't speak that well English. So what were your first thoughts? Or
damn, those are high heels she has on, and damn, your fingernails are way too long. Those are my first two thoughts. But now her fingernails aren't too long, and she doesn't wear that high heels.
No more high heels. I still love them when I'm on the land. I still love my high heels, but I don't have even one pair on the boat, and I don't need it.
Well, the thing is, I'm normal height, 5'11", almost 6 foot. And with heels, she's 6'3" or 6'2".
So
it's like,
are you intimidated?
Okay. I'm not intimidated.
No?
But you are shorter without heels.
Yeah. And I just like him as a person. He was easy to talk with, easy to connect. We didn't start dating or anything. I was in another relationship. Ken was just breaking up with his previous girlfriend. So it didn't. We didn't start being friends for another, I don't know, year or
8
2
months.
years.
It was about 8 months because then you left, and or maybe it was a year, over a year.
I think it was more than a year.
But she ended up going to Florida for 6 months or so, and
yeah, in the beginning I thought it's gonna be 3 months of vacation, But Ken is the man.
Wow, thanks, Zeno.
Okay. So yeah, now we reconnected because I remembered that he lives next to the ocean. I didn't really took that much time to figure out which one, but yeah, and then he decided to come over and visit his friend in Florida and asked if I will show around the Miami South Beach. I said sure, and we took it from there.
Rest is history.
Yeah.
We ended up getting married. Mistake. Okay. Okay. Any more questions? We can probably go through
Type
some
of
of them.
equipment / devices do you navigate with? I like this one.
Okay, I like that question. And the reason why is because one of the things that you would navigate with that most people don't know about is a program that you can download for free, and you meet up with any sailor that has all the maps, and you can get those for free. It's called OpenCPN. So it's on my computer. You have OpenCPN, and I've got all the maps. Don't change anything.
Yeah,
And you,
but it's all.
oh, OpenCPN. And if you get a hold of a sailor that has all the maps, you can get them all for free. So you'll have all the maps for free.
Yes, and those are, for example, when we were in Panama and San Blas, the beautiful islands. There are one chart of OpenCPN maps by Eric Bauhaus.
Bauhaus.
And those are the only ones you can use. So it doesn't matter what kind of other expensive applications, maps, or probably paper charts. I don't know, paper charts.
No, you're not going to get any information off paper charts. I mean, you'll get, how to get into a place. But we use this for a moving map as well. And I'll tell you, if you don't have the Bauhaus charts when you're going through San Blas, you're probably going to hit something. And the Bauhaus charts, you can get them from the sailors on OpenCPN. And, you can do overlays with Google Maps. You can do all kinds of things with OpenCPN.
Yeah.
It also has the weather data
for
the last all the climatology, and I'll show you real quick. Let me see. Yes. We'll have to click over, but click that over. I'll show them.
Yeah, it has all the tropical storms, maybe hurricanes only, but it has all the currents, and this is so helpful when we plan.
So you'll have all the current. You've got all the wind data, and the wind data goes per month, and you can actually see all the tracks of all the what do you call it? The cyclones and the hurricanes over the past 30 years.
Those different color lines. We have to put more.
Let me get over to this one here. So let me see if I can run through this real quick. But OpenCPN is what you want, and then you can get it on your Apple. And then let's see if I can. Can you let go? Thanks. I gotta get this control up.
Okay, while Ken is picking up.
So you can actually go through the months. Let's see. And then you can see all the tracks come in of all the storms, depending on the months. But that's one of the things we use. We also have two iPads running at one time. We also have...
On one of the iPads, we use iNavix, and this one is compatible with our AIS. Mine, I'm using Navionics, which I really like. It has an estimated arrival time and so on. But that one is not compatible with our AIS. I cannot see other boats on there.
So iNavX, we can actually end my computer on this particular one with OpenCPN. We can actually Wi-Fi connect to our AIS. And then with our AIS, it gives us the moving map. So the OpenCPN becomes almost better than having a full-on A chart plotter.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes our chart plotter.
So those are our personal devices. As Ken mentioned just recently, he has OpenCPN on his computer. We have 2 iPads with 2 different applications. Then we have Furuno.
Yeah, we have a Furuno chart plotter, which has another set of maps.
Yes, and then we have old computer, 17-year-old computer, Windows computer, that also has maps.
Right. So if we're close to a landmass, we probably have at least 4 charts going at any one time. At least 4. Mm-hmm. Maybe all of them 5 going.
Yeah.
So if they don't line up, we make sure that we're on high ground no matter what.
Yeah, but the thing that we didn't know, and it was a big revelation for us, is OpenCPN. It's so much really, really good information, at least for such a newbies as us. Like winds and storms and what to expect at a given month. What was the patterns in the
You
past.
Can say it's for newbies, but we found, people that sailed for 20 years that know nothing about OpenCPN. When I told them about it, they're like, oh, we got to get that. And I helped them get on. And then I found people that had been sailing for 20 years that had OpenCPN that gave me all the charts. Mm-hmm. So you get the full gambit, but I'm just telling you guys, get OpenCPN and, learn how to use it before you buy a boat, before you want to go sailing.
Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of us I'll try to put in the description later on when this video is posted. I'll try to go through what it's been taught, and if there's any reference, like applications which maps charts we're using. I'll try to put this down. No links. It's just something you could Google up, and maybe if there are different providers, maybe it could be different price ranges for different geographies or something. But like this. OpenCPN is a really, really great tool to know about and have. So there is a really nice question I can see from Zach, and is, what is the most fun you have had since you start cruising? Ken doesn't have fun ever.
That's not true. One of the cool things about sailing is you're always meeting new people. And you're going on their boat. So I just want to tell you a thing that happened to us when we were on Aloha. And if you look at one of the video about Aquarius, when I go Aloha, it's actually that was a picture of Aloha, our friend's boat.
Yeah, it's identical Super Marmo. Yeah. It's not Super Marmo 2000. It's Super Marmo, the original one. And they have that beautiful updated boat, and it happened on their boat. Steve
did a great job of fixing it up. But anyways, we were on their boat, and we were in what was the name of those islands? The Las Perlas Islands, south of Panama, and we were on their boat, and we were having dinner and drinks on their boat. So, anyways, we saw 2 dolphins fishing around the boat. So they were all like, those 2 were chasing all these fish, and we'd light up with a flashlight one of the fish, and then the dolphins would come up and grab it. And so after we got bored with that, we were just sitting there. And behind me, the dinghy was pulled up on the side. So you have your boat here, and the dinghy's sitting on the side, and I'm sitting in the cockpit of Aloha. And all of a sudden, a fish about that long jumps and hits me on the side and then lands in the middle of the boat because one of the dolphins chased it and it jumped out of the water into the boat. So we had to wrestle the fish down and give it back to the dolphins. But that was an amazing night. And then the next morning, we saw a little fish jumping, and I knew something was chasing it. And then you saw the mahi-mahi jump, chasing the little fish, jumping, and then this huge bird just grabbed the little fish out of the air. I mean, those two scenes, and that just happened about 2 weeks ago, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But I think the most impressive place that we were was um, Tobago Cays, and we were there at the end of the season. It didn't have that many people because Tobago Cays you can get way too many people on in that little area, and it's probably not as nice. But we were there, and you see pictures of Aquarius, and it looks like no other boats are around. There were 3 or 4 boats in the little area that we were, but that was an amazing place.
Yeah. So when we were there at the end of the season, I think I remember from the video it was like 16 or 18 boats, but in a big distance when you pick up a drone and you can see around. So it was about like 19, 20 boats, but during the peak season, it's over 100 boats. And the area where we stayed, it was really narrow. So they said they tangle the anchors, or I think it's a mooring balls too. But they
Yeah.
keep yelling at each other like you are not tight enough or whatever. So I think it's a really different experience when you're in a crowded place and when you're in this paradise almost to yourself, and it's just like so unreal.
Yeah, Tobago Cays is very nice.
Also, the other thing, it's so when you go through the places, you meet all the sailors and you talk all the time about the locations, and you hear so much, you kind of build up your expectations. You know what to do, where to go, and everything. Not everything, but a lot of kind of an idea. So one of the really nice places, it just blew us, but so unexpectedly, it was Colombia. When I was reading on Moonside, all the information we get from, besides other sailors, a lot of information we get from Moonside, and it's really invaluable. All the fees, or how to, when you, for example, go to Aruba, that you have to go there and wait for the officers until they will check you in. Like a lot of great information. I don't think we would be able to do everything as we're supposed to do if it wasn't available. So in Noonside, I didn't see that much information besides, oh, Colombia still has this thing that it could be dangerous, but it's not dangerous at all. I've been in more dangerous places where I wasn't feeling so safe, but I never felt unsafe in Colombia, even in dark streets in the evening. And also, when you read on Noonside, they say, oh, you have to pay $200 for a cruising license, which is, it's pricey for us sailors. Also, the other thing, they said there's not that many anchorage, and the marina, which is there, it's pretty expensive. And it's true, it's on the pricier side. But when you get there, it is so beautiful. Marina, at the end, we find out that just you go to the same marina, you take one of the local newspapers, you pull out the ad, they give you a 30% discount. And also, the marina is right in front of the downtown. It's just so easy to get around. People, although they don't speak much of English, and I don't speak much of Spanish, but they will do anything it takes to make you get whatever you want. And they had the mountains, and it's a huge country, and it was one of our very first not the island but the mainland, where it's so much to offer. So we were heartbroken when we had to leave in 5 days to keep moving to Panama to pick up my mom, but it was amazing. So Colombia, definitely one of those nice places.
Yeah, and for those people that are planning to do something similar, just make a note. Spend more time in Panama. Make sure you spend a month in Santa Marta, and then from Santa Marta you can go down to Cartagena.
Yes.
Cartagena is not that far, maybe 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
A couple hours in a bus, and you'd be in Cartagena. You can either sail down to Cartagena or not, but spend at least a month in Colombia. We only got a week, and we talked to several people that did stay a month, and it was because they loved it, and we loved our week, but it sure would have been nice to spend a little bit longer.
Oh yes, oh yes. So this is a great, great question. What made you decide to sell it all and sail?
Uh-oh, what happened here?
I don't know.
I hope everybody can still see us.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. So what decided? Um, I had a friend pass away, and he was the same age as me, and we played basketball together all the time. I'm still a basketball freak, and I just played last night with 18-year-old guys, and yeah, they can beat me, but I still play. So, anyways, he passed away, and cancer got him in 6 months. And I just looked at life, and I just said, there's got to be more. So, you know, we took off.
Hmm. Also, I did some career coaching. Um, I'm very driven. Whatever I do all in. And sometimes you get burnt out. But when I decided to do the coaching, I was getting these leads, where 50 plus year old people say, I'm just trying to figure out my life. I'm trying to get my ducks in a row and figure out what I want, what I do, or just fix my life because it's completely dysfunctional. And it made me really, really sad that, we always grow. And I remember I always go study hard, and it's never easy. I always had to study full time and work full time. It's not easy, but you always think, it's gonna be easier. Someday it's gonna be easy. Someday it's gonna be easy, and it never is. I mean, it gets better, but it never really is so easy. So, also, I'm from Europe. I live in you lived in US for the past 8 years or 9 years, and it's different. In Europe, it's normal that people have 4 weeks of vacation, and it's a little kind of like less busy lifestyle. Although I'm not saying which one is better or worse. As everywhere else, there are pluses and minuses, but it's a shock when you come to the country where maternity leave is 4 weeks unpaid, and people have 1 week of vacation, and if you get sick, you're out of luck. So, and you live in a society, you live in a workplace where you kind of not really compete, but you being valued between those people. So if even if I have 4 weeks of vacation, and I did, it's not really customary to take those 4 weeks of vacation, and you kind of like get judged that you might not be as into work as you're supposed to be. So, anyways, and yes, I saw that Ken was burned out. He was running 3 businesses. And when I asked him if he would like to take a year off, he got so excited. He actually got home, draw all the maps, and he said, "Where are we gonna go? How long are we gonna stay? What are we gonna do there?" And he was just did all the planning and mapping, and I just really saw that we do need to take something. And then a lot of things that just fell in places, like selling our house. I got laid off, our lease was over, the other things turned out what it was supposed to be. So all these things fell into the places, and we were so ready to go.
Yeah,
And
but one of the things that you said was, is it busy? There's a lot of things to do on a sailboat. You're always fixing something, especially when you buy a new boat. There's gonna be a learning period. You don't really know. You know something needs fixed, but you don't know how to do it. So then you have to go back. You have to read for a couple hours, and then, oh, okay, I need to do that, but I need this, this, and this. So then you got to go find those things, where to buy it. It's not so easy. So it takes a lot of time. And the next question, how are you planning to get weather? We have a Iridium Go. That's how we're planning to get weather.
mm-hmm.
We also have an SSB with a modem, and we'll probably, that'll be our backup. So one of the things with a boat, also, if you're crossing an ocean, you got to have backups on your backup. So you're always thinking, well, what happens if Iridium Go goes down? Well, then you have to get your SSB up and get your Proctor modem going. So we will be able to get emails through our Proctor modem on our SSB, and we'll be able to send texts and get weather on our Iridium Go.
Okay, we skipped one question.
What advice would you give to a 26-year-old who wants to go on a journey to go cruising? First, what I would say is first learn how to sail. If you're already sailing and you already know how to sail, that's one thing. But then there's something called Pacific Puddle Jump. There's I forget, it's something 38. But go to Pacific Puddle Jump and then get on one of those. Just put your name in the hat so that you can talk to some of these captains that are going. You know, we had talked about getting somebody on Aquarius, but I think the first crossing we're going to try to do it by ourselves and see how that goes. And then when we get to the Marquesas, then it's not very far to get down to the Tuamotus and then go down to Tahiti, where we're going to be meeting up with our previous owners, Jimp and Lonnie, and they're coming back on board there for a month. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to chain Jimp and Lonnie to the boat. We're not going to let them go.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I guess we answered most of the questions, and thank you for reminding us that. If I didn't, please post again, because it looks to us that we answered most of all. So before,
well, wait a second. Before we go, let's go through these questions really quick and make sure we got.
Yeah, the ones that were asked below the video.
Did you consider any other yacht makes? Yeah, we considered Beneteaus and we considered Tianas, but we didn't find them suitable for anything that we were doing. Indication of costs. You got to buy the boat. That was $207,000 because we bought it when the dollar was high and the euro was low, and then we put another $50,000 into it for spares and maintenance and everything to get it up to speed, and now she's ready to go. So we're all in at probably $260,000, and that was my goal. 280 was my goal. We're underneath that with Aquarius, but there's some things that I would like to change still, and maybe we'll get that done when we get to Thailand in a couple years. Have you tried making sushi from the fish you caught? Yes, we caught a big eye tuna just north of San Blas.
San Blas.
Just north of San Blas, and yes, we did make.
And the mahi-mahi.
Oh,
we
and
were
mahi-mahi.
going to Bonaire.
But the big eye tuna was the best.
Yes.
It was a nice, big, fat fish, and
super
it was delicious. Expenses, I think I went over that. What costed more than expected? Getting ready for a crossing. You will spend much more than you think, but that should get you through 5, 6, 7 months sailing through the Pacific. So getting ready for a crossing, you really need to think about what you need. What would we have, 10 cases of beer on board, all the type of alcohol, and all the food that we're going to need, and everything to change the oil in the engine, the transmission, all the filters, the 5-micron filters for the water maker. You need, charcoal filters for the water maker as well. You need, one of the things you really don't think about is how many fuel filters you should have on board. If you get bad fuel, you're going to be going through fuel filters maybe every hour. So we have a lot of fuel filters on board. And that's something you don't think about. And if you got, an expensive fuel filter system, we're spending $22 a piece. We probably have about 20 Raycor filters on board. So we spent a lot in some of the things you don't really think about, but you really need to have. What's this one? How do you figure what you need on a yearly cost basis for maintenance repairs? I've heard people say that it's about $1,000 a month for what we should be spending on Aquarius, but we we probably spent much more than that because we have to get it ready. We didn't know how it was maintained before. I know it was very well maintained, but you need to change everything out. You want to change your impellers. Oh, and another thing you don't think about, if you don't change your impeller, and when you open it up and you finally do change your impeller and you see some blades missing, find the blades. Don't wait until you overheat. Find those blades because they're still inside your engine. So that's just something you really should think about. Because what happened to us is, we changed it out, and I had somebody else change the impeller. They pulled it out and they said, "Yeah, there's a couple blades missing, but I can't find them." So I was running the engine, and I could run at 1700 RPM, no problem. As soon as I took that up to 2100 RPM, it just started inching up and inching up and inching up. Over 200, 205, 210. So I'd have to bring it down. But I finally went in myself, with somebody overseeing my work. But we went into the heat exchanger and pulled out 3 blades. And those 3 blades, you cover up a couple of the holes in your heat exchanger, you're just going to get hot. So if you ever see that you're missing blades on your impeller, don't wait. Find them as soon as you are changing your impeller out.
Also, what are the kind of general costs? Is it like 1% of a boat cost a year?
Yeah, no, it would be much more than that. I would say you're going to spend on maintenance probably $1,000 a month for a boat like Aquarius. Maybe even more. Maybe $15,000 a year. I mean, $15,000 a year once you're going, and that would be to maintain it properly. Very nice.
Okay, again, we didn't have that much maintenance for us. Everything was new, so whatever we had to do, it was again in our spending spreadsheet, which I promise, we will post later. And some of them, again, I said must optional or must for us specifically. So yeah, you
All
will
right.
see
So
some of the
somebody else
ones.
asked, do we sail back to our Vegas port very often? Well, I think it's obvious that we can't sail Aquarius back there, but I go see my mom at least once a year, but in a plane.
Yes. Oh, there was a question by Bill. He was saying, it's a couple of times already when we on land, and it gives us a good balance between living on a boat and keeping this lifestyle easy. So yes, coming back on a boat on a land, it is absolutely so nice to see our family and friends. This is number one thing we always plan. The other thing is getting all the necessities to be sent to us, like whatever we can get from Amazon or whatever. And those are like usually things that are not so easy to find. So it is good. I remember when we were coming back on land after 6 months after season 1, it was a really nice because at first season, when you're such a newbie, complete rocky, sometimes you don't know what to do. It consumes a lot of your energy. But this time it was more logistics than the need, and that's why this stop is so short. And definitely, at least I am looking forward to get back on a boat and get going and getting to Marquesas.
Yeah, that's Marquesas. We're really looking forward to that. Somebody asked, "How in the world can you afford to do this?" Well, I was very lucky in 2002. I bought a house in Encinitas, and I knew it was going to be in the right place. And I bought the house, and it went way up in value. And we sold the house, and that's how we can afford to do this.
Yes, also we have some um, a little bit of what it's called.
We
Goodness,
have a little
I'm
bit of
blanking.
cash from our house that we
Yes.
sold, so that's a little bit of cushion.
Hmm.
But we're hoping that our channel's going to get really good support, and maybe we can keep this up for a long period of time. Because what
Yes.
we want to do is we want to circumnavigate over a period of 4 years, and then head up to the Mediterranean.
Yes, to stay at least a year in
Do
Mediterranean.
a year in the Mediterranean and then go from there. Maybe buy an airplane, fly it around the world next.
Yeah, good luck with that. Anyways, we are still very new. I remember when so the initial plan was to take a year off and go travel on land. And the initial idea was a year off. So it was more manageable, not as high cost as buying a boat. But Ken pictured in a boat, and I really liked it. It's because it's more ecologically friendly. You don't have to pack and travel, and you always can. I don't know. It's just more unique way to do this. But when we decided to buy a boat, our commitment was at least 2 years, and we didn't know how we were gonna like it. So right now, we definitely can see that we do like it, and this plan, it takes about 4 years to go around world, enjoying places and going within the seasons, avoiding the hurricane seasons, and so on. So this is our plan. We do plan to take 4 years off, and it's already 1 year. I still can't believe that. Cheers for that.
Cheers.
1 year. Unbelievable. So for us to travel around the world, it's another 3 years, and again, I think it's nice would be to stay another year in Europe. We both like Europe. It's so much to see there, and they have it all kind of like situated for that. It's fancy, probably very expensive, but yeah, they have all the infrastructure for that. So we will see, and looking forward to it.
So maybe a couple more questions about costs. Insurance. When you first buy a boat, you got to get somebody to insure you. And we had problems finding somebody to insure us with the first boat we buy is 50 feet or 53 feet. So couldn't get insurance. They just wouldn't answer you or anything until I told them, look, I've never had a claim on any of my insurance, whether it's riding a motorcycle, driving a car, flying an airplane, all the insurance that I've ever had, never. And then I started getting answers back. And I think it was because being a pilot and having an instrument rating, it's very similar to sailing in a boat. It's just that you're staying at the same altitude, 0 feet, and then the mountains are coming at you everywhere. So very similar, and that's when we started, it made it a lot easier to get insurance. But insurance, we're paying about $4,000 for the boat, and we're paying about $2,000 for our health insurance. Health insurance, once you get out of the United States, is much cheaper than inside the United States because everything's so expensive. But I will tell you a little story. Shavilla was over in Bangkok, and she had an infection, and we go into the emergency room, and we paid $260. She was in the emergency room. They gave her shots. They did, ultrasound. They did all these tests on her. Comes out, and we walk out with drugs too, $260. We come back to the United States. She's still having problems. She goes to the doctor. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. 2 weeks later, we get an email from Bangkok Hospital, Brahmagrat Hospital, and they write to us and say, she has a problem. She needs to go in and get surgery quickly. And we go back to the doctor here in the United States, and they say, she's fine. And so we switch doctors. We go to somebody else, and they said, oh, yeah, she's got a problem. We're going to have to get her into surgery within the next week or so.
Yeah.
And so if it wasn't for the $260 that we spent over in Bangkok, we would have never known about the problem. That didn't cause the problem that she was having over in Bangkok because that was an infection. But they found it over there. They didn't find it here. And, over here, it would have cost us $6,000 to go to the emergency room and get the same service. Mm-hmm. So it's much cheaper. And you can actually insure yourself unless places like if you want to go to the Marquesas, where insurance is a requirement to get into French Polynesia. You have to have the insurance. So it's much better to have insurance, but at the same time, it's much cheaper than being in the United States.
That's true. And again, I'm from Europe, so for me, all these U.S. expense bills were I couldn't believe it. But anyways, that's a completely different story. Another great question: are most the sailboats rated for ocean crossings? I asked this question to a yacht couple just yesterday, and they said their boat it wasn't rated for offshore travel.
Hmm, that's a good question, but there's not a whole lot of boats that are rated for an ocean crossing. Tiana, they're rated for an ocean crossing. They're built like a rock.
Hmm.
Um,
And it's all complete different rating. They are called blue water boats, and I think this is probably the easier question is to ask. I never heard of the rating for the boat. It's just like it's not 5-star rating for ocean crossing. It's I
there's
never saw that.
there's plus and minuses with every boat. If you bought a Beneteau 54, the boat's going to be much faster than an Amel on certain directions of wind. And it might even be faster than a Amel at all directions. But, you know, you've got a spade rudder. You might have a problem. A whale coming up and nudging up against you can knock your your rudder off, and then you're basically stuck sitting in the middle of the ocean without a rudder. I I wouldn't want to be in that situation. So even though a Beneteau 54 would be considered a blue water boat, I wouldn't want to sail it because it didn't have the things that I wanted to be safe. Me, I wanted a skegged rudder, and if you look at most of the blue water boats, they'll have a skegged rudder, and the Beneteaus won't. But having a skegged rudder or having a full keel, the boat's going to be slower, harder to turn. So you have plus and minuses with everything. Amel did the best he could at making a boat that was good for sailing downwind. Most of the time you're sailing around the world, it's all downwind. You're trying to get into the trades and move, to the next destination. So I believe Amel did a lot of the right things, and just some of the things that you don't really think about until you're like laying in the one side cabin underneath. He puts the window in the perfect spot, so you just look up and you can see, the helm. Amel did a lot of the right things, and the way you lock up an Amel, it's got just click it in. That'll be my next video where I show how you lock up an Amel, how you actually do all the lock this, and then you lock this, and then you lock this, and then it all locks down. But
Yeah.
Amel does a lot of the right things.
Yeah, all these locks were internal. It's not the paddle lock. All these locks are like, you don't have to buy all these paddle locks where it's easy to cut off or whatever. These all are internal from inside. So they are really smart.
So I like the Amel. I think it's probably one of the best affordable blue water boats you can get. If you go out and buy a Swan, you're going to be paying $1 million. If you bought an Oyster, probably $1 million to get the same type of structure as you get on an Amel. If you look at all the other boats out there, if you think of them just as a platform, and you can take and buy a cheaper platform that has all the the good things for a platform, and you just put all your electronics on it, so that platform becomes just as good as an Oyster or a Swan or those really expensive boats. But the Swan is they're faster. They might have a knot and a half on you, but would you rather spend another $800,000 to get a knot and a half or 2 knots? I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I don't think we got that money.
No, we don't. Anyways, I don't see any more questions. Again, if we missed any other questions, please repost them again. But I wanted to address only a couple of questions we get all the time. And one of them is cost, that I promise we will address with all the details we can provide. And we will provide a lot of details. Again, as I said, local currency and US. But other three questions we get a lot is, do you get seasick? And the question is basically no. I got seasick twice when we were leaving at night and I couldn't see the horizon. Ken never got seasick. The other question is,
But I've been seasick before.
yeah,
And I got to add one thing on that. Just because I don't get seasick on this boat doesn't mean that if you get on a different boat, or let's say you're sailing this boat for 4 years, never been seasick, you might get on another boat that has a different movement and you'll get seasick. So it doesn't just depend on, if you're going to get seasick. It depends on just how bad it gets and what boat you're on. So, anyways.
okay. So the next question I can see in the chat is, any scary healing stories? And I also wanted to address that when people are asking us, aren't you scared? So the healing stories I can tell, as soon as we left Martinique, that was where we started living or came aboard on Aquarius. We started in Martinique. We spent a couple of weeks preparing the boat, getting the solar and wind and getting the rigging changed and so on. And then we leave towards Dominica. And there is this channel that in between the islands, the wind gets crazy. We got about 35 knots of wind and it was blowing crazy. Aquarius was healing a lot. And I was sitting there with my eyes as big as they can get. And I was so scared. I thought we were going to sink. And then I was asking Loni, who is a previous owner's wife, I said, aren't you scared? And she was like, no, it's okay. This boat can handle like much, much worse. And Ken is doing good job. And then I look at Jem, previous owner, and he's like, aren't you scared? And he's like, no, it's normal. And then I was like, okay, maybe it is normal. But if they wouldn't be there, I would be screaming. I would be.
That would have been the end of our relationship.
No.
Hitting 35 to 40 just north of Martinique on our first crossing. So, and the crossing's only 35 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
But the relationship and the boat would have been over. That was why it was great having Jim and Lonnie on board before we ventured off on our own.
Yeah. Any other scary stories, or what are you scared of?
I haven't been scared of anything. I'm scared of nightmares, but I haven't had one yet. Pirates. You have to be vigilant, but I think that the question about pirates is a bit overrated, and most of the pirates, they're just people that need a little bit of extra money, and they don't want to hurt you. They don't want to be hurt. They just, have to feed their families. Like I was watching one of the Delos videos, the guy that was caught, he was just trying to, get a little bit of money to feed his family. But that's what you're up against. There's a lot of poor countries out there, and it's too bad. And, hopefully it never happens to us, but I think it's, stated a little bit too much. We were really afraid when we left Grenada. We were heading south to Trinidad. We thought we were going to see something, so much so that we saw a couple fishing boats and we thought that they were going to attack us. But it's just a fishing boat, and we pass them by.
But there were, maybe I'm more easy to scare than Ken is, and I believe for obvious reasons. When we were crossing to Grenada, from Grenada to Trinidad, and Trinidad is fairly close to Venezuela, which is, unfortunately, we were so close, and I think Venezuela has a lot to offer, but the economical situation is so bad that our insurance wouldn't cover. And so far we find it really beneficial, the insurance guidelines, like staying below certain degree for the hurricane season, and we were lucky enough to avoid the two horrible hurricanes, and we're so sorry for what happened in these islands. But we didn't go to Venezuela, so we do take all the precautions. We were trying to group up with some other boats, so it feels more safer when it's not only you. So we were not able to find anybody, so we took off on ourselves, and it was pretty good. Also, I was just browsing through the questions to make sure we answered all of them. And Zinun said, would you two be willing to accept donations? We appreciate your time and valuable experience. And the answer would be
Sure.
sure. And for that, we would be willing to do something more what you guys exactly want. You know, you've been asking for a boat tour for so long, and what Ken did, it just took off. Like, I mean, it was, you liked it so much. It was a really good exposure for our channel, and it means a lot. We make those videos also for ourselves, but to know that somebody really likes it and appreciates it means so much. And we definitely want your suggestions to know what you want. And again, I know everybody was talking about the cost, and we will prepare that video post. Maybe we could even do a video on why some of them are must and some of them are optional, and just to go through that, without our faces, just to look at the Excel spreadsheet. So, yes, if you will give us donations, please let us work for that and get as much information you want from us. So it's a win-win situation from both of us, for both of us.
Yeah, somebody asked, I'd be worried about grounding out in the middle of nowhere. The seas are mapped fairly well. Nothing's going to get less than 20 meters without having a map on it. I would hope. So anytime we're in less than 20 meters or so, we've got 5 maps going, and one of those maps is going to tell us that there's something there.
Okay.
So I'm not really worried about getting in the middle of the ocean and hitting something, except for maybe a container.
Yeah. Also, do you want to talk about how we're planning to cross the Pacific together? How we're gonna schedule the watches, and is it easy, just 2 of us? So I think Amel is one of those boats. Even in their sales pitch, they were a long time ago when Henry Amel was a main CEO of a chandlery. He said, whenever you buy this boat, Amel, all you need to bring on a boat is your suitcase, and you are ready to go around the world. So it had all the sails, all the equipment, all water makers and electronics and so on, which is not the case for the new Amel. Out of curiosity, I checked out Amel 50. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. But yeah, the standard, standard, it doesn't have the water maker, it doesn't have a genset, and without that, you're not equipped to go around the world.
So we were able to well, we had Jim, who bought a new Amel in 1989 or thereabouts, and then he had a Super Marmu. Then he bought the Super Marmu 2000 after he looked at oysters and swans. He came back and bought another Amel. But we had him, and he knew Amel personally. So we got all the stories. So when he was buying Aquarius, he went in and he looked at Aquarius, or he was looking for another boat, but he thought, I'm buying a swan. So he went off and looked at swans. And then he found out that it was going to cost him, I don't know, $1.5 million to get the swan that he wanted. So he thought, why would I buy a swan when I can get, everything I want for, 40% less with an Amel? So he went back to Amel and he says, I owned a Super Marmu for about 10 years. I know what I want. I want this change and this change and this change. And Amel said, no, I'm not changing it. And in fact, I don't want you to buy my boat. So you can just go pound sand. And so Jim went, and then he went around the Amel's back, and he went to the management. He says, yeah, I really, really like these changes in the Amel, and I'll buy the boat. I really want to get one. And they said, okay, you can buy an Amel, and we'll sell it to you. And we'll make sure that since Amel is getting a little old now, he only comes and he looks at one boat per month. And we'll make sure your boat is way in the back, and we'll give you some of the changes that you want. But
Yeah,
we can't give you all those changes.
but the changes I made, they are so minor. I mean,
Yeah, like hooks. I want a hook here, 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 and here for hats. It's like, no, you can have 2 of those hooks, but you can't have those.
yeah.
Because those might not be, what you think when you're sailing. So Amel always thought, he made the best boat. You're going to buy it like I've got it. And if you want something different, pound sand, because I'm not going to sell you a boat. And there was one guy that, well, he tried to do that to Jim, but Jim just went around his back.
I don't know that. But anyways, Amel is one of those boats which any owner, it belongs to a sort of like a cult. And since Amel prevented all these different variations, all the boats are pretty much the same. All the systems are pretty much the same. And the hull is, this particular hull is made like about 500 boats.
Yeah, about 500.
About 500 boats. So it's pretty much one of the most popular boats on the...
I believe it's one of. I think they made more of this production boat than any other boat that's out there in its class.
So whenever you have a problem, it's really so invaluable to have all the support, because sometimes you're in a country where they might not have a best technicians. You might not even be able to talk them in the same language, and to have something in the forum and it's very responsive. Not even participating in there because it's so overwhelming. I was getting a couple thousand emails a week because whenever somebody asks a question, there is another like 7 people responding and commenting about how to fix that or what solutions they found. So whenever you have a problem, it is such a wealth information of wealth, and it's just like amazing how willing those people are to help you. So it's really, really good. And
Yeah, and most of our friends are other Amel owners like Aloha, Eleuthera, what's the other boat? Rascal. So you meet all these other owners, and I'll tell you what, it can be a godsend if you're in the middle of the Tuamotus and you need a fuel filter because you just ran out. It'd be nice to have a friend that has the same exact fuel filter that you need, and he's got 20 on board, and you might have something he wants, and you can trade, and you can keep going. So it's good because all the boats are the same or very similar. They have the same.
There are 2 comments regarding the Amel. 133 Dave 133 says, I think Delos did great a factory video on Amel. Absolutely, yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
And we kind of think with Ken that they are getting a new Amel. And
I'm not so sure about that. I would hope that Delos, doesn't do what Le Vagabond did and get a brand new boat, because
well, it's not for us to decide. They had that Amel for a while, and they have a lot of people on it.
Mm-hmm. I just think it changes the level of play. It changes the whole attitude of the videos, but.
And I don't know if they are still family owned. I'm not.
Who family owned?
I believe Amel.
Oh, Amel being family owned. The factory is now owned by all the people that work for Amel.
Really?
Amel gave it to the management
Wow.
team, or actually all the employees. So now it's owned by the employees.
Wow. Interesting.
Oh, you're talking about the cat. I'll tell you, the cat was just he just came up and he was just there. The cat was he wasn't a prop. He's a feral cat, and he just showed up there, and the day before that he jumped up in my lap. So he came back and I just picked him up and showed him off.
Yeah.
But he's one of the feral cats at Balboa Yacht Club.
Yeah, there are a lot of cats, and Ken cannot pass by the cat without petting.
I'm not going to make a joke about that, but anyways.
But that's true, right?
Sometimes. I like cats.
Yeah, and I love cats too, and actually Ken invented a cat feeder or pet feeder, In our website, you actually can get the link on it. It's pretty cool. It has a Wi-Fi. You can talk and feed your cats via over your phone. But having a cat aboard, it makes much more difficult with all the check-ins and check-outs. That is way more difficult. I believe cats are still more easier compared to the dogs because sometimes I believe, as some people come into country and they don't declare that they have a cat, and cat is not gonna go out barking on a deck. But also in these cases when we have to leave a boat, like in this case when we came over for 2 weeks, what can we do with a cat? I mean, you can't just drop it off anywhere, and we don't have neighbors, or I mean, that would be.
I think it would be bad for the cat. I
Yeah.
think cats are better on ground.
We should adopted her. She's still gonna be there when we get back soon to Panama, and they are cute. They are being fed there, so that's how they are so friendly, and it's a lot of them. If you are watching us on Instagram, I had one of the pictures where just sitting there and staring at me, trying to get something out, but there is food for them always.
So, Dan, goodbye, Dan. What's the fastest you've been, and do you have a bell to ring? I don't understand the question. When you break a record, I don't know of any records we've ever broken. Amel's aren't the fastest boats, so you're not going to be breaking any records.
Yeah, but we were going 10 knots at one point.
Yeah, but the thing about cruising is you don't really want to go that fast because when you're going fast, you're putting a lot of pressure on your rig, and it goes exponential when you try to go above 10 knots. So you start going faster and faster, exponentially you're putting more and more pressure on your rig, and you're just going to make it a shorter life on your rig. So I'm not in the. I'd rather just stay, 8.5 to 9.5 knots at the very fastest, and not even try to go faster. Start reefing as soon as you can.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on the boat, and when you realize, some of the, again, we have completely new standing rig, all the metal wires and so on. We replaced most of our running rigging. Ken gets really innovative and very proactive when there is something to replace. Some of the sails didn't have to be replaced, but he takes care of that baby so well. As I was laughing when he did all the mast covers, I said, now Aquarius has more dresses than I do.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So, Zinu, thank you so much. We will provide the email, but you have to let us know what do you want to know from us, so we don't feel like we just, using you guys. And we create all these videos from sailing, about the countries. Ken is more into the technical emails, but again, tell us what you want to see, and we will be happy to show more. Of course, we still have a lag on our videos, so when you request for something, it might take a while until we catch up and show more. But hey, that's how we learn and do. We are still newbies. And sorry for all the crappy sound and everything it was in the beginning, especially the 3-month Q&A when we uploaded and we find out that the sound is terrible and there's nothing we can go back and change.
So anyways, the videos are getting better. How many passports?
That must be a nightmare, keeping all of that straight.
No, we only have one passport apiece. Or is it passports? Oh, how many I don't understand the question.
Okay, so people are signing up. Ringing a bell is cheap, but replacing sail or rigging isn't. So true. Everything on a boat is so expensive, especially in the beginning. I was just...
Well, in the beginning, and this was something that I'd really like to say. In the beginning, you don't know where to buy it. You don't know how much it costs. You always think it's going to cost a lot, but you can do it cheap. You have to just, wait. Talk to a bunch of sailors about it. Where do you get this done? How do you do this? Like we paid probably $3,000 to get our water maker, done. And we could have done it for about $1,200 or less if we would have just known. Just buy the membranes, take it out, do it yourself, and the membranes are $150 a piece rather than $400 a piece from the guy in St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
And St. Thomas was a
Yeah.
complete ripoff.
They also did the end caps.
Yeah, the end caps. They charge us $1,200 for end caps. If I would have known where to get them, I could have called the factory and got them for about $250. But there's a lot of companies out there that will rip you off. Our back air conditioner, we had 2 air conditioning companies that said, "Oh, you need to replace that. Oh, that's not going to work." I said, "I know it's just a switch because I can get it to work with the switch. But, oh, no, you don't want to replace the switch on that." We replaced the switch on it from a company called Micro Air. And then we can actually, as soon as I figure out how to do it, we can get it hooked up to Wi-Fi so we can actually change everything with our iPhones. But they wanted to sell us a whole new unit, which had been about $4,000. Rather than a switch and get a really upgraded switch cost $700 rather than wasting $4,000 on a whole new system. And there's a lot of people out there, they're going to try to sell you on, "Oh, you need to buy this," or "You need to buy, oh, you need to buy a whole new water maker. That's only going to be $7,000-8,000. No, you can fix up the water maker, change the membranes, change all the filters, get it up and going for $1,000 or less. So you really have to understand where to get things done, how to get things done, and then you can do it fairly cheap. We could have saved $2,000 right there, but we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and also for water maker, when we went to change the membranes, they have all these newer, fancier water makers. Ours is original, built 17 years ago. And as the previous owners didn't have a solar or wind systems, they always have to run the generator while they're making the water. So we were looking into those new water makers that cost like $6,000 or $7,000. They make probably half of the water that our makes, but the only one thing, they were able to work without running the generator. And then me and Ken is just like, is it worth to pay so much money to get a new one so we can run without running a generator? And then we decide to try ours without running generator, and it works because now we have solar and wind. And it may, of course, if it's a cloudy day, you're not gonna run a water maker. You still might need to run a generator just to keep your other electrical needs. But it was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, one of the things that Jim said, he was on board, and he took me aside one day and he goes, "Ken, if I would have known that putting solar on this boat would make it that much nicer, I would have done that 7 years ago."
Yeah. So there are a couple more questions. So the passports for entering the countries, we have only one passport each. So far,
Right. I think what he meant to say is the visas. No, the visas haven't been that difficult because Javil is an EU citizen. I'm an American citizen, and right now we haven't had that much of a problem. But it might be a problem
Yes.
when we go to India or some of these other places.
Australia, New Zealand, I don't know about
But
that.
so far, we've had no problems at all
Mhm.
with the American passport and the Lithuanian passport.
And I have a green card, so it was easy to go to U.S. Virgin Islands. That was no problem. I didn't have to get the visa. None of the countries. So far in season 1 and 2, we visited 13 countries. That's quite a lot, I believe. And we didn't have to get the visas for none of those. And Caribbean is pretty easy. I think that moving on, it might be a little bit more complex. So that's why having a cat would be
Who
very,
gets to scrub the hull? Rock, paper, scissors. She's the rock and I'm the scissors.
Yeah. He beats me up if I don't do that.
What? You've never scrubbed the hull.
I did.
You did not. When did you scrub the hull?
With a brush and sieve? I did once or twice.
No. We're talking under the boat.
Oh, under the boat. Oh,
The
under the
hull,
boat. Always can.
Yeah, exactly.
Always can. I scrub inside. Inside on top and inside. So, okay. Follow the boat channel has a cat and that precludes them around. Australia sailing Uma had the deodor replaced for a few dollars that saved them thousands of a new unit after a lighting strike. Ooh. Our friends on the other Super Marmo, just the lightning didn't hit directly them and they had some damage, and we were in Borneo or Aruba where there was so much lightnings around us, and I think
that was
even
Curacao.
Curacao?
Yeah.
No,
No, it was
Spanish
Aruba.
word.
It was Aruba.
Aruba.
Right.
It was so many lightnings around us. It was crazy.
Within 300 meters, one hit, and it's really scary. Not because it's going to kill you in the boat. It's just going to break a lot of your toys.
Oh yes.
So
expensive toys.
It can be very expensive to the tune of $50,000. A couple other boats have said it was $50,000 just by a lightning strike.
Yeah. Panama, apparently, if you say in San Blas Islands place, it has how many chances? 1 out of 4 chances during the rainy season.
Yeah, if you were there for a couple years, the chances were 1 in 4 that you were going to get hit. So certain places are a lot worse than others,
yes.
And I hear that the farther you are from land, it goes down. I've heard that from a couple different sailors.
We met a couple with aluminium cat. They got stroked twice. Talk about luck.
And cats have a lot higher strike rate than monohulls.
Yeah. Our Lester, welcome, and say hello to Arizona too. I'm so happy you're enjoying. And Dave, 133 again, do you guys scuba dive? You are a new subscriber. Welcome, and we appreciate all the subscribers, new and old. And regarding the scuba, Kenneth,
we have 2 sets on board, and yes, I do scuba dive.
I did very little with a guide, so I probably will learn and do that just because for the safety reasons. But to be honest, I always prefer snorkeling rather than scuba. But there are cases where snorkeling is not an option.
Yes, we have 2 sets on board, full sets, and what we're going to do before we cross is I need to get 2 more tanks. So we'll have 4 tanks on board, 2 sets of gear, and that should get us by. I do want to get a compressor, but that's going to be a while. There was a compressor on board, but Jim said he got rid of it because he never used it, and he said wherever I go, you're going to find a place to fill your tank, and you're going to find somebody to dive with. So anyways, they took the compressor off. So we'll probably put one on at some point, but probably not till we get to New Zealand.
And I believe slowly we will start wrapping up because we have a little less watching people now too. And it's getting late, really late in some of the parts. So it seems like we always diving on our anchors. Actually,
you should always. Yeah. We're not diving. We're just
free
diving to our anchor. But you should always look at your anchor because you never know what you're anchored in, and if you have a sense that there's going to be any winds at all that are going to kick up, you want to make sure that you know how your anchor is set. And so we pretty much all the time I'll go down and dive on the anchor and make sure that the anchor's set well.
Yeah, and Ken is really good in free diving. So, but we never ever pulled out our diving equipment for just to watch the corals and fish. Ken uses one always, a lifeline, to scrub the bottom of the hull and the prop. So that's the only one uses so far. And Tony,
ask about putting things in the microwave during a storm. Yeah, you unplug it And yes, we have put all of our computers into the microwave um, during our Aruba trip. Yeah, we put everything in.
Do you plan on visiting Australia?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes, that's next. So, um, as we go now to Marquesas and the rest of French Polynesia, we plan to stay there till the 1st of December. Our insurance requirements is 1st of December to be in New Zealand, and we will comply with that. So, after New Zealand will be Australia, but we will stay in New Zealand for a while too.
Yep. Well, anyways, I guess we'll wrap it up then. And if you have any more questions, maybe we'll have
Do you
another
want to
session.
answer? So it's another, let's stay for another 9 minutes and see if we have any more questions. The one question that comes up very often, at least from my girlfriends, they ask if we are bored on a boat. Aren't you bored? Like you have so much time, and aren't you bored? And Ken has the best of the answers, I believe.
I said, well, I'm not sure if I get bored because I used to wake up in the same bed, jump in the same car, drive to the same office, sit at the same desk, do the same thing all day, get up, leave the office, go to the same place, play basketball. You're always going to the same place every day. And I said, I think that that's probably a little more boring than waking up in a new place. You know, you have all of these new decisions to make. You've got to get the boat to the next place. You got to fix the next thing. So I don't really have time to get bored.
Mm-hmm. And I'm being rude because now I'm looking on my phone. Now, Zinun asked already twice, which has been your favorite anchorage? And by far, our favorite anchorage was the Grenadines. And we posted 2 videos on that. And it's video number 17 and number 18.
That was what we talked about earlier.
Tobago Keys.
Tobago Keys.
Tobago Keys. And the island next to that, I think it's called Mirio.
Yeah, Mirio.
So this is definitely our favorite anchorage.
I would say Mirio is, that place is an awesome place. It's got everything. You can go ashore.
Very charming, very isolated, unspoiled.
And there was some people that were trying to put together a kite surfing school there, and I'm not sure if they were successful or not, but you know, it sounded like a great idea to me. The place is beautiful, and you know, they've got wind, and you know, I hope that they're successful.
Yeah, I hope so too. So, Zillion, again, do you miss the soul-crushing monotony of life on land, seeing the same people with the same problems in the same places?
I think that's what I just said a little while ago. It's the same every day, and I'm glad that, you know, we're taking a little time off from it, but we may come back, and I may end up working.
I do miss it. I do miss some of the work challenges. I'm always looking for a next challenge. Crazy person, but that's how I am. And but mainly I miss my friends in general, all friends. But what I miss the most is my girlfriends, because we meet so many nice people, but there's no my age girl. So and
there's a couple. The girl that was on the cat.
Yeah, but I didn't get to hang out. But anyways, sometimes I do miss, and it's still, you know, it's been a short time, only a year, and I'm still on Facebook once in a while, Instagram, because I'm posting for Sailing Aquarius too, so I see all the things that are so familiar, and sometimes it seems easier.
So Sean says, must see Bay of Islands in New Zealand. Yeah, we'll go there.
Okay.
And the Great Barrier Reef. We will go there, but I've already dove off the Great Barrier Reef a couple times. And yeah, the Great Barrier Reef is pretty nice.
And YouTube is already my challenge. Absolutely.
Yep, we need to get another video up, according to Xenon.
Mm-hmm. And we will have videos again, just the travel videos. What do we find on the islands? What day-to-day challenges we see, and how we catch the fish. But some of the more specific ones you have to request, like the one, you know, the cost that will be coming, the one about the boat tour, and you have to request what you want, because, you know, right now, you know, before it was so overwhelming, we had to learn so many things. video taping, video making, sailing, just anchoring, handling the boat, reading the winds, and all these things. So right now we will have more time to work on the videos and make them better.
Okay, I think that's it.
We
Thanks, guys.
appreciate you joining us, and thank you so much.
And hopefully we'll have one of these at 2 years, or maybe in Tahiti after we make the crossing. We'll have one more of these as soon as we find a place to do it.
As long as you like Q&As, we can do it. As long as we have like a regular internet with a fairly good connection, we can do those. As long as you like them, because it's not something you plan and you do the footage anyway. So if you like it, let us know, and we will.
Well, I think it'd be good to have one, because we just got through the Panama Canal and it's been a year. So we'll do one after our big crossing. We're in Tahiti. So that'll be the next one, and that will be in June.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you
for asking all the questions, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Okay. And here we